Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and listeners to the Gift of Gaming podcast, welcome back to another episode. And this time, on our very first birthday, we're covering the Game Awards 2023. It's me, it's your host, as always, Darren Wade, and today I'm joined by the console-hating, PC-playing, lore-seeking, full-time Canadian himself, Chris Robbins. Chris, how you keeping?
A little on the tired side, but
I think
keeping well.
You and me are the only ones who made it to actually do the episode.
Yeah.
Because we stayed up until, GMT time. The Game Awards finished at, 4:30 in the morning?
Yeah, and then I still had to get home and, wind down. So, it was quite early before I went to bed. I mean, it was the first time I ever brought a thermos of coffee outside the apartment with me because I felt I needed it.
In order to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, it was long. It felt a little bit long in the tooth towards the end. I think it was just because I was so tired. But yeah, they were kind of just blasting us with nonstop world premieres and
I don't even know where the length. Yeah, was that it? Like, where did the length come from? Because they were because of last year's little incident, they were playing people off super quick and not giving them a lot of time.
Yeah, well, to me it seemed like there was more premieres, or not even premieres, just announcements or trailers for things this time. I actually felt, and we'll get into the whole show as a whole, but just from my initial thoughts, I actually felt that the awards section of it
suffered. It was
really
just a
suffered.
Showcase, really.
Yeah, it was just another E3 essentially. You know what I mean? In terms of, can you really call yourself an award show? Because some of the big awards, like best multiplayer, best action game, they were just
rapid fire. They didn't even let the people talk.
Yeah, come up and that's what I mean. And I'm a big fan of Jeff Keighley, who presents the Game Awards, and he puts a lot of work into it, and he always talks, we do it for the developers, and he does a big talk about that kind of stuff. But I was like, no, this was like a really long ad. This whole show was just a really long ad, and it was nothing but like bam, bam, bam. And don't get me wrong, some of the announcements and stuff that we got looked amazing, but can you really call it a Game Award show? And we'll go to, I won't spoil it now, we'll go through it bit by bit, but the guys who actually won Game of the Year, when they were giving their speech to say thank you, one of the few people actually got up to make a speech. They were talking about how, this is hugely important to us. A couple of people on the team passed away while we were making the game in COVID, but they still got the whole, hey, we need to rush you off stage. These guys were like getting into it and talking about like how important it was that they finished this game, and they were kind of being played off still. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure we could have done without that like third anime game being in it, and to hear what these guys had to say about the development of the game that won the the Game of the Year. So yeah, that was one of my gripes with it. It definitely didn't feel like it was focused on being an award show, which I think for developers, yeah, for sure. So I thought for the episode, Chris, we'd go through the awards and who won in the various nominations. I don't have the content creators, esports ones written in. We can talk about the Evo one because that was a bit of a surprise because I don't know any of the other content creators. But kind of talking about ones that, I mean, for the most part, I think I agreed with what won in certain sections, but there was definitely one or two that I had a big
gripes that make me question whether or not like the validity of
who's
some
voting
of these
for
nominees.
This. Yeah. Okay, so we'll hit off the show. I mean, for those who haven't given it a watch, we'll break it down for you. We'll go through all the nominees and their winners, and then myself and Chris were kind of going through the list of announcements that were made during the show, and we'll kind of focus on ones that actually stuck out for us as opposed to talking about everything, because there's way too many things to talk about. But we'll go through some of the announcements that were made and things that we enjoyed. But to kick it off, in no particular order, because I did not take them down in the order that they were given in the show. Okay. Yeah, it was because this was written down from when they provided the nominees on their website. It was given in this order, but on the show they did it in a totally random order. So in no particular order, I'll go for the first one. So the most anticipated game, we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. And the winner for that one was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I can't...
Which is not shocking at all. My personal anticipated game was Hades 2, but I'm not mad and I'm not surprised that Final Fantasy won just because, I mean...
It's so
Final
huge.
Fantasy.
Yeah. It's just it's just a pity Hades 2 is potentially coming out in the same year. Of course, you're not going to win most anticipated. But what we did see about Hades in the past looked amazing. So I am excited about that one. Here's my first major gripe with any of the awards given. Best multiplayer. The nominees were Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonders. Baldur's Gate 3 took best multiplayer.
Shocking.
I mean...
Great game.
Great game.
I love the game.
Not a great multiplayer.
Not a great multiplayer experience. No. Especially against like Party Animals and Street Fighter, which is built around multiplayer in mind. And then
And Super Mario
Mario,
Wonders,
which is
like
always the best
the couch co-op.
game.
Yeah, and like I mean, I've been playing it with Kev B on the podcast, and our mates Niall and Danny. We've been playing through it, and like it's a proper multiplayer game. Baldur's Gate 3 is an amazing game, and it's fun to do it with your mates, but it doesn't work perfectly well, either doing it locally or online. It doesn't. The system doesn't work as great as you want it to, and how that came out and won best. Like it's an amazing game through and through, and it achieves a lot of things. It does a lot of things very, very well. Multiplayer is not one of them.
The crazy thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is multiplayer just makes me wish I'd rather be playing D&D.
Yeah.
I'd much prefer playing D&D than Baldur's Gate multiplayer.
Yeah. For sure, yeah, because it's like that one's janky, and so can someone not just give me a pen and paper and I'll actually have a game about it or a game about D&D?
We can actually laugh about these stupid things that are happening.
So that was one of the ones I had a big issue with. I think that was probably one of the worst ones award-wise that I was like, that's one of the things I definitely don't agree with. I don't know if there's any sort of bias there. I don't know if people were singing Larian's praises too much, but Baldur's Gate doesn't deserve to be there, in my opinion. The next one I have here is Best Sports/Racing Game, and the options were FC 24, which is EA's Football Club 24. It's no longer FIFA. Formula 1 2023, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, and the Crew Motorfest. Forza Motorsport won that one.
Not surprising to me at all. I haven't really played any of them.
Hot Wheels has been pretty well received, and
I saw that.
I thought that would have been a cool, interesting little winner in there, like a Hot Wheels game taking it. But yeah, Forza.
I think it's too. That'd be like Mario Kart winning sports and racing. I think it's just too
cartoony. Yeah. And I mean, they do have a best sim category as well, and I guess maybe Hot Wheels could win because it's not you're not talking about a true simulator. You're just talking about maybe like a good racing game. I suppose it might be up there. Mario Kart is a good racing game, but yeah, something pure like Forza. I don't mind that.
I'm also not sure why sports and racing lumped together in the same category. I feel like at this point they should be separated.
I think year on year it's probably tough for them because this year there was a lot of car games, racing. I mean, you look at that list, 4 of the 5 games in that are racing games. I don't know if you get that every year. Do you know what I mean? And this year we had a Crew, Motorfest, Forza, and Hot Wheels come out all in the same year. You don't get a Forza game every year. You do get a Formula 1 game every year. That's fair. But I think to have 4 racing games in the category is probably rare enough that maybe they can't divide it. But like you said, and we'll get into it, there's a couple of I wouldn't say dodgy categories, but there's a couple of I don't think well thought out categories. This being one, and we'll get onto the indie one later on, which didn't a lot of people were complaining about.
Some ironing there.
Yeah, for sure. The next one was Best Sim and Strategy, and this is funny because me and Andrew did an episode a couple of weeks back on the.
I remember listening to this. I actually kind of cringed a bit listening
and
to
you were right to as well,
yeah.
Because we were talking about we both played Cities and Skylines 1 and we loved it, and Cities and Skylines 2 had come out on PC, but I hadn't looked up any, and at that stage I'm not even sure if it was out yet, but I was looking at this being like, wow, if it's anything like the trailers and like the first game I played, I think with those that it's against, it has to win. So I'll put down the ones that were in the category. The nominees were Advance Wars 2 Reboot Camp, Cities and Skylines 2, Company of Heroes, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. I mean, Andrew, we're certain it was Cities and Skylines 2 was a shoo-in, but it's crap apparently on PC.
Because it's only available on PC and everyone is review bombed. Can you even call it a review bomb when it's when it's founded?
Yeah,
because it's just unoptimized. You really need like some sort of NASA level computer just to run the game,
which is crazy. So yeah, that's gone absolutely torn to shreds. The winner of this one, after all, was Pikmin 4, which you called. Like, when we sat down to watch it last night, it was you, me, Kev Purcell, KP, who will be forever known now in the podcast as KP, because having 2 Kevs is just too confusing for me. Yep. So we've got Kev and KP.
And it can't be KB and KP.
I was also confusing. I was doing that for a while as a joke, but then I actually found it quite difficult to keep up with that. So it was you, me, Kev, Andrew, and KP were here till fucking 4:30 in the morning watching the Game Awards. But we all put our vote down, and hats off to you and Kev, because both of you guys put in Pikmin 4, which I thought
there's no thought involved. It's the only game I've heard that was actually great.
I mean, look at that list. Advance Wars 2 was slightly disappointing. Lazy. Company of Heroes, I can't imagine that winning anyway. Fire Emblem Engage was a bad game, and then you got Pikmin 4. But Pikmin 4, like, it's just, and I think that's probably my Smash Brothers bias coming in, because I do not like Olimar or whatever the other Pikmin character is. I think they're horrible characters to play in the Smash Brothers. So that's always kind of tainted my view of Pikmin as a game overall. But Pikmin 4 won with that one. The next one is, and this is another thing, some of these categories where there was a pre-show last night. So the show started at 12:30 and there was a pre-show for half an hour. And the pre-show had a couple of announcements and a couple of awards. But some of the awards that were announced in the pre-show I didn't think belonged there. I thought they could have been put in the main show and made a bigger deal of. This one maybe not so much, but we'll get to other ones. Best Family Game. The nominees were Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Brothers Wonders. And it's no wonder that Super Mario Brothers Wonders took this one. For sure.
It's like you said, no wonder at all.
I feel sorry for Sonic coming out on the same, because that Sonic Superstars game looks really good. But it's just,
that's the throwback to the old ones, right?
It's like a Sonic, like a 3D-ish Sonic Mania that's 4-player. You know?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And Party Animals, like, we played Party Animals beforehand. Yeah. Before the pre-show, and it was fun, but it definitely doesn't feel like a family game. Like,
no, and it's one of those things where I would love to pick up that every now and again and play. Like, I mean, I was in stitches last night playing that. Some of the stuff that happened was, I mean, I think my favorite weapon in that game, the boomerang is my absolute favorite weapon in that. Yeah. And I felt like I was playing it, being like, this is a great game. But again, Super Mario Brothers Wonders, it's that kind of co-op. Pure couch co-op, sit down and play the game as a family. And Mario Wonders is at times an easier game, so I think it's a bit more accessible for a lot of people. But yeah, to me, that was when that category came up, I said it's a hands down Mario Wonders takes this one. Our next one was Best Fighting Game, and the nominees were God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6.
I think it was crazy that I was the one that was the most on the fence about this, despite being
Street Fighter's biggest fan.
Yeah. Street Fighter 6 was fantastic. It's my personal game of the year. But like, I kind of thought Mortal Kombat was going to take this because it was. I had the recency bias, but aside from that, it was just reviewing better. And Mortal Kombat is always. Don't shoot me if I'm wrong here, but I always thought of it as a bit more of an accessible fighting game. Like, more people are into Mortal Kombat than Street Fighter. Street Fighter, you got to be a bit more like sweaty and competitive in order to break through. Whereas Mortal Kombat, you get that quick, haha, this is fun and hilarious.
Yeah. And then, like, I mean, you were nervous about it, but Street Fighter 6 thankfully won it. Yeah. I was said this in the episode when me and Andrew were picking our choices when the nominees were released. When they read out this category, Best Fighting, Street Fighter 6 was the last one to be read out. And while they were reading it, I was like, holy crap, is Street Fighter not even in the consideration? But of course it was in the consideration, and of course it won, and I'm glad it won. So Street Fighter 6 took that one, and I've got no complaints over that. I think KP was a little bit disappointed. KP's a Mortal Kombat guy through and through. But to me, Street Fighter 6, the fact that they that game was just, reborn. If Street Fighter 6 was a real,
fantastic to have Tekken 8 in there too. That would just
like the ultimate year, yeah.
Clash of the Titans, man.
And it would be interesting to see who would have taken. I mean, I've played the beta testing of Tekken 8, and it seems really, really good. But I don't know if it's I don't know if it'll be up there versus Street Fighter 6, and it'd be interesting to see next year. This next one as well. This next one was one of them quick, snapshot. Here's another announcement. Here's another award. We're not going to get anybody up to make a speech, but Best RPG.
Crazy.
In a year that there was some serious RPG contenders, that they didn't actually get people up to, it was a real quick fire. Here's your nominees. Here's your winner. Moving on. And I kind of thought that was a bit disappointing.
A part of me also thinks that the reason they didn't bring this up is because it was Baldur's Gate 3 again for anyone who's...
Oh, yeah. So the nominees were Starfield, the only nomination Starfield got this year, I think. Yeah. Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, and Sea of Stars were our nominees. And Baldur's Gate 3, of course, took it. And
the fact that they didn't bring anyone up might have been just a clue that, like, Baldur's Gate 3 won this again because they're not giving them that much stage time. It's like, holy fuck, these guys have already had so many speeches, so let's cut back there. So I wonder if... That's how they work some of it into their show.
Back in 2017, though, if my memory serves me correct, when Zelda won that game of the year, I think Zelda got the sweepstakes that year. Zelda just walked away with so many trophies. But at that time, I think the show was a little bit more awards orientated. And I remember, that's what I was laughing about. I remember the guys behind Zelda going up on stage again and again and again to pick up awards and make their thanks and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it really has fallen to the wayside in terms of the actual celebrating the developers at the show.
Because the same thing happened this year with Zelda as well. They won they won a couple if I recall.
They won 2, I think. Yeah,
I remember calling it because they announced Zelda as the winner, but it was another one of these rapid fires. I was like, holy fuck, they're not even going to give Zelda the time of day to go up there. And then I clued in, and it was like, oh, they have a bigger speech coming later on for a bit more
for one of their other best game direction or whatever it was. So yeah, like no complaints over the winner, but complaints over kind of how the awards were being announced. The next one was Action Adventure, and the nominees were Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and Zelda. And the winner went to Zelda. And I think this was one of their ones that was kind of mentioned on the side as well. And that's why we were quite surprised, being like, crap, Zelda's won their first award and there's no time for an announcement. I mean, a tough category. For me, I think there was a bit of a mix-up. The idea that Final Fantasy 16 was in the RPG category and not the action-adventure category was a problem I had.
Final Fantasy's always been an RPG, and now it's...
16 wasn't really a true RPG. 16 was an action-adventure game with RPG elements, was how I'd frame it. So I was disappointed that because I think it would have done better if it was in action-adventure as opposed to RPG. But yeah, Zelda took that one.
The whole RPG idea... like what we think of as a role-playing game is now hit a new benchmark with Baldur's Gate. Like that is
big time.
True role-playing. So I think we kind of have to revisit our definition of these
exactly.
games.
And I think that's what I mean. Final Fantasy 16, when you're looking at a Baldur's Gate 3 in that category, Final Fantasy 16 doesn't really belong.
In fact, I don't think, thinking of based on my definition of an RPG, I don't think Final Fantasies have ever really, because a role-playing game is like a role you create, right? And you dive into the fantasy. Their roles have always been set in stone. Like
I think a role-playing game, it means that your characters, whoever you play as, are highly customizable in terms of how they play. I think was kind of maybe one of the older definitions, which the likes of the Final Fantasies and gone by, let's say like 10, for example, with the sphere grid and things like that, you could decide what your character would do.
Yeah,
so I think, but again, like I said, that's for the older Final Fantasy games. Like newer Final Fantasy games don't have that. They're very like 16 and 15. They're very much like these are the characters. There's not a whole lot you can do with them. Each one has their own. So I don't know if you can consider them true RPGs, and based off Baldur's Gate now being, as you said, the new benchmark. So after Action Adventure, we had Best Action Game. We had Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. I was hoping it'd be Armored Core, and it was Armored Core. But I was actually surprised it was Armored Core, because I was looking at that list and kind of thought, Remnant 2 could have been it.
I feel the exact same way. I was hoping, because I'm a big From Soft stan, but I didn't think it would actually win because Armored Core is Armored Core. It's just fucking hard for a lot of people. And
I mean, I love the name. I love that it's come back. We were only talking myself because Andrew was here, and growing up together, we had like an old Armored Core in the PlayStation 2, and there was a Gundam announcement at some point in the show, and we talked about how we had an old Gundam game as well. Not the kind of games that I'd go out and buy, but that I have really fond memories of playing when we had them. Like bought them cheap in GameStop secondhand when we were just looking for something to play when we were a good deal younger, and like, oh my god, this Gundam game is amazing, or this Armored Core 3, whatever it might have been, is amazing. So I was delighted that Armored Core 6 took that one. I
think my first Armored Core was actually PS1 without like thumbsticks and stuff like that.
Oh man, I don't know how we played without that kind of
it
stuff.
was definitely a tank or a mech game. I don't know if it was definitely it was this one here, the first Armored Core,
the very first one.
Yeah.
What year?
97.
97.
Yeah,
good year. Good year. It was 7.
Yeah. My buddy owned it, and he never played it. He's like, I don't fucking get this game. And I played it. I didn't get it either, but
it was fun.
God, I tried for hours.
Yeah. It's fun. And I think the customizable aspect of the mechs and things like that was always a big pull for me when I was a bit younger. But yeah, that won it, and I was delighted. And the next category was Best VR or AR game. And the nominees were Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Humanity, Resident Evil 8 VR, and Synapse. I was slightly disappointed with who won this. I think I from a personal perspective, Resident Evil 8 VR took the win on this one. But I was kind of hoping for VR's sake that Horizon Call of the Mountain could have taken it, because I think VR at the minute, the only things that exist in a good capacity, in a well-made capacity, are horror games, and I mean they do transfer well to VR.
You know what? We should even watch the Steam Fest or go through the Steam Fest nominees, because like it's a completely different ball game over there. Like their options. My personal vote for this year on Steam was Gorilla Tag, which is you just
never even
play
heard
these
of it,
like little baby gorillas and you're just playing tag. You climb through the trees and trying to like tag each other. That was my vote for VR game of the year this year. But like
not even on the list.
Yeah, because like, it's one of those niche kind of like
and it's
PC only games that don't get the attention that these.
But that's what I was kind of. I mean, I'm a big Horizon shill anyway. I love the Horizon games, but Horizon Call of the Mountain was kind of a different kind of VR game in that it was, it's Horizon. You're fighting against these, big machines with your bow and arrow, but there's also like a cool like climbing, aspect to it, game mechanic to it, and I was kind of hoping for once, not for once, but like I love something a little bit different to take it. But the last couple of VR games, most successful VR games or most popular VR games, have all been of the horror genre, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, it's cool, but I'd like to see a couple of extra. Just a few different kind of things up there and winning, It's
also such an obvious choice, though, like, because you don't have to do much to make... Well, sorry, that's not true. Horror is very difficult to perfect, but in VR, it just makes so much more sense because it's so much more immersive and you are going to scare people a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more. Yeah.
Just seems like an obvious choice.
It's a good
that
home.
And racing.
Yeah.
Like action adventure, like you're just going to break every window in the house. I just don't understand how those are
fall over people, knock people out and stuff. Yeah. The next category was Best Mobile Game. The nominations were Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil.
Honkai Star Rail.
Honkai Star Rail. When I hadn't seen anything to do with that game until we watched my vote was on Ever Crisis. It was the only game on mobile that I played. But looking at the trailers and the details for Honkai Star Rail, I was like, that game actually looks like it's a lot of
The reason this got my vote, because I haven't played it. I played Monster Hunter Now. I don't think it definitely doesn't deserve like a Game of the Year, a win in this category. Mm-hmm. But Honkai Star Rail, I've seen people on Steam, like on my Steam list that shows you what game they're playing.
Yeah.
And they'll be playing Honkai Star Rail. So if it's a mobile game, but people are still playing it on their PC or console, it must still
be worth a shot. Like
exactly.
Yeah. That people are going outside of it. And these next two categories are kind of the controversial ones. A lot of people, in terms of the podcast, the YouTube content creators that I watch who would be well into the Game Awards and stuff. This was a kind of controversial category and controversial nominees based on do they truly belong in these categories. So the first one was Best Indie Debut, which there's nothing, I think this one was a bit less controversial than the next one, but the ones in this one were Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. And I guess the whole idea behind Best Indie Debut is it's a studio making an indie game and it's their first game, which is why you have indie debut. Cocoon took it. I had no complaints about that. It's kind of where I had my money on it.
I was betting on Pizza Tower because I remember Pizza Tower was huge for a hot minute until I read the nominees for the next
Best Independent Game.
Yeah. So the fact that Cocoon was both Best Debut Indie Game and on the list for Best Independent Game and Pizza Tower wasn't, automatically disqualifies Pizza Tower from either of these of these awards.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. And the other controversial thing, we'll go through the best independent games now. We had Cocoon was back in that one, Dave the Diver, which would be the controversial entry, and we'll talk about that in a second. Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. Dave the Diver, I mean, this is where we need to kind of iron out the definition of what exactly is an independent game. So that's what I mean, and it's very clear to me that the Jeff Keighley and the guys behind the Game Awards made a distinction here, whereas, the first one isn't called Best Independent Debut. It's Best Indie Game. And indie, indie as a phrase, that's what we associate with kind of, Goose Game and all those kind of, small time but very popular games. And this one they've called Best Independent Game, which is, I guess, maybe where they're trying to make the thing, because Dave the Diver is owned, the team that made Dave the Diver.
It's developed and published by Mint Rocket, which is a subsidiary of Nexon, which is Korean Activision, essentially.
So like tons of money. And
Dave the Diver in this category is essentially the same as like Treyarch, which is a subsidiary of Activision, making a small game that could look. Yeah, you look at it.
It looks like it, but it's like in terms
they
of
have big fucking Activision money behind them.
Now, they saved themselves some hassle and some real controversy by Dave the Diver not winning it. Yep. And it actually went to Sea of Stars, which was an interesting choice when I think of... I mean, I've played a good deal of Sea of Stars, and I haven't played Cocoon, but I've watched a lot of videos of content creators playing Cocoon. And to me, Cocoon seems like the...
I've heard all right things about Sea of Stars, but I haven't heard anything like "fuck this."
No,
game is great.
it appealed to a lot of it appealed to me in a lot of ways because it's that kind of old school class nostalgic, and it's like a turn based, that top down pixelated RPG that I grew up on as a kid, and I was like, oh, this is great, but there's not. I'm a bit older now, and I've often said on the podcast that I'm big into games with a good narrative, and the narrative seems very, very vanilla, very beige. Just there's not a whole lot to it, so I was a bit disappointed in the game. But it took it instead of Cocoon, which I was surprised at. But congratulations, Sea Stars. Now we get on to best community support. Our nominees were Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, or I guess just maybe the Cyberpunk 2077 series, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, No Man's Sky, and Baldur's Gate 3 took this one. And that was another surprising one for Baldur's Gate 3.
That's when I realized I actually have no idea what the qualifications for this category are.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what it means.
So for me...
I thought it was support for like which community is the most supportive to new players. And
the way I took it was which game is giving the community the best support. And on that note, I would have been down there for saying Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, or No Man's Sky. Cyberpunk 2077, brought out a DLC this year and a patch to give you the game that you should have had 2 years ago. So I don't know if that would be considered best community support. I mean, part of me would consider that for No Man's Sky as well. But the likes of Destiny 2 and Final Fantasy 14 are things that still have content being created. They're still taking on the community's feedback about what needs to be changed, what needs to be added or whatever. And they're still developing those games. Baldur's Gate 3 kind of had 3 years of early access that weren't this year. Do you know what I mean? The game came out this year, so you can't include those 3 years of early access where they're talking with the community and developing the game. And it came out this year, and they've put in a few patches and things like that. But I'm surprised that Baldur's Gate 3 took... I'd be interested to actually read up on what the definition of this category is, because to me, Baldur's Gate 3 didn't fit it. But there you go, it's taken it. Best ongoing game, Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. This one was quite funny because Luke was meant to come last night and watch the Game Awards with us, but unfortunately he got a dose of COVID. So he was watching it himself at home. And best ongoing game went to Cyberpunk 2077. And Luke has been playing that and finished it recently.
It's shocking because there's so much Fortnite forced down our face.
Yeah.
New fucking content that didn't make any sense.
No. And to me again, ongoing game, because you brought out some DLC for it this year, but for players over, Luke was shocked. He'd be a big Cyberpunk fan. He's been telling me a lot to be like, no, you should give it a proper chance. I know you didn't like how it was released, he says, but you should give it a proper chance. But he was kind of saying on the chat last night, even this morning when we were kind of talking about the show again, he was like, I still can't believe Cyberpunk 2077 won that one.
I'm shocked Dead by Daylight didn't even make this list. They had a great year. They released Alien and Ripley. Yep. They got their Stranger Things license back. They released Nicolas Cage out of nowhere just as a random survivor. Voiced by him. Fucking awesome lines in the game.
Yeah.
And they just released Chucky, which is crazy.
Yeah, and Apex Legends would still have the battle passes. Again, I don't know if battle passes makes it, but the reason I was thinking Fortnite was, and we saw it kind of really come to life in the show, was that there were so many ads, because we haven't talked about the games, and we won't talk about the games that appear in the ads. I mean, check them out. They were already announced games, but there's had some extra new trailers during the ad breaks of the Game Awards. And on every single ad break, there was a new Fortnite thing.
You're found in Fortnite.
There was Lego Fortnite, Fortnite Racers, Fortnite Golf, Fortnite whatever. And the banner that always got me, I was looking at this game and it looked to me like it could be a whole little game by itself. And in the top thing, it just had a banner saying play it in Fortnite.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. Fortnite, when it first came out, and I'll never forget back in the day when Infinity War for Marvel or Endgame had a trailer, a brand new trailer, and they said, watch it in Fortnite. It's going to be revealed in Fortnite. And you could drop down into the battle map into the open air cinema section that was on the map back in the day. And you could land there, and you landed at a certain time and you looked at the screen and you waited. A trailer for a movie came out and you just sat there and you watched it, which was like, it blew my mind at the time. And they're still, even now, so many years, even so many years later, they're still doing it. Like the game's got like it's got a whole Lego game inside of it. You can play golf inside of it. There's a whole racing game inside of it, and they're all very collaborative. Like the racing game is crossed with Rocket League. Yep. The Lego game is a whole Lego collaboration. So the fact that Cyberpunk 2077 won Best Ongoing when they've really only gotten their shit together this past year boggles my mind. And again, as Luke said, probably in our view, very undeserving of that award. We had the next one, Games for Impact. Unfortunately, none of us had played these games and really have a good idea. But the Games for Impact nominees were Space for the Unbound, Chants of Sonar, Goodbye Volcano High, Tachia, Terra Nil, and Venba.
Venba got my vote because it takes place in Toronto.
Yeah, you were saying it's like an Indian family comes to Canada back in the 1980s or something like that. Yeah, it's that one. And the Chants of Sonar, I saw someone playing through, and that one is you kind of learn an entire language throughout the game, which is a cool concept to me as well. But it actually went to Tachia, which is, I guess, I think it's kind of like an Islander type, cultural, very good at like promoting the culture of wherever. So I never played it, so I'm not sure. But judging by the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, that looks like a cute kind of game. But that one took that. The next one, and this one was disappointing. Not in terms of, kind of in terms of who won it. Innovation for Accessibility was announced in the pre-show. And the one thing that, Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards have said in previous years is it was like, we're all about innovation for accessibility and making games accessible for everybody.
And then rapid fire it in the
pre-show was kind of strange. So the nominees for that one were Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6. And we all put our vote down for Street Fighter 6. We've all seen the videos.
I think that had a lot to do with my influence. I was just like, man, it's fucking crazy. But also, they had a blind guy competing at EVO. They have blind tournaments. Like, I thought that it was a shoo-in for sure.
Yeah, Forza Motorsport took that one.
Yeah, makes me wonder. Like, I want to see what
innovations they have.
To even debrief over what I watched last night because I literally just went to sleep and came back here to record.
It's been a long 24 hours,
Yeah. But I meant to check up and see what Forza has done.
So if I were to put in any things for what I'd like to see in the Game Awards 2024, it would be that the actual awards have a bigger part in the show because it's getting smaller and smaller each year, and also that something like innovation for accessibility, which they really try and promote, that award should be given a space on the main stage, and the development team should be able to step up onto the stage and talk about how they came up with this and the teams that they work with.
Or at least
when
they're announcing the nominees, give us a brief screen like they do with movies. You get a quick clip of the movie that
and we can see what they've done.
What they're throwing out there.
Yeah, so that was a little bit disappointing. Best performance. We had Ben Starr from Final Fantasy 16, Cameron Monaghan from Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba from Cyberpunk, Melanie Labourde from Alan Wake 2, Neil Newburn from Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal from Spider-Man 2. I was hoping and praying that Ben Starr from Final Fantasy 16 would win this. Final Fantasy 16 was my game of the year for this year for sure, and his performances were out of this world. And I've been watching a lot of them throughout the year. Really nice dude, really easygoing. But all of you guys said last night, Darren, there's no fucking way Ben Starr wins this. It has to go to Neil Newborn for Baldur's Gate 3. He plays Asterion, who is a massive fan favorite and probably one of the best voice actors.
It's not even the fact that he is, because I didn't know he was the fan favorite. It's the fact that it's Baldur's Gate and the amount of VA talent in that game
is huge.
They had to pick one that was considered the best. There's no way he's losing.
Yeah, a good point. And of course, he did go on and win it, which was excellent. And again, best performance and good on them was they got to come up and make a speech. It was one of the few awards where we had a speech being made and stuff. And he came on. It was that classic thing. Actually, we should talk about it.
Oh yeah, because he was introduced by.
He was best performance was one of the early ones, and he was introduced by
Christopher
Judge, who I have to say, what a moment, because last year when we watched, for anybody who doesn't know, hasn't listened to the podcast before about the early episodes we did a year ago. But Christopher Judge, who used to play Tilk in Stargate SG-1 and voices the God of War, he came out last year and was awarded, in fairness, a big moment for him, was awarded the best performance by Al Pacino of all people. Like, I don't know how the Game Awards managed to get Al Pacino out there. But Christopher Judge came on.
He'll never be back.
Yeah. Somebody get that man a seat. But he presented the award to Christopher Judge, and Christopher Judge made an 8-minute long speech.
8 minutes and like 59 seconds.
7 minutes, 59 seconds. It was 8 minutes. But I think in terms of award things, his is up there with one. Like, he holds the record for one of the longest acceptance speeches made. Full stop. But they tried to play him off with music last year, but the music only went to kind of heighten his. The speech he was giving, he was like, this background music, and it was all a whole thing. It was a real cringe moment for me. I almost couldn't watch the rest of the game.
I walked away.
And the worst part about it was that everybody else who went to make a speech got about 20 seconds before the playoff music came on, because Christopher Judge had taken up everybody else's time. But hats off to the Game Awards and Christopher Judge, because they knew, and Christopher Judge himself in the last years obviously realised, wow, I really talked too much, because they made a big whole thing about, like, stick to the script, Christopher, don't take too long. When you hear the music, get off the stage. And it was all great. And he wasn't doing anything controversial until
his jab
at Call of Duty.
My speech was longer than the last Call of Duty campaign. Oh fuck, another company I'm not going to work for.
I was like, Jesus. And you could tell that wasn't on the script. You could tell that was all Christopher Judge. You know what I mean? Because, but I was like, hats off to him. He's not wrong.
I like how they panned to the Call of Duty guys too, and they're just like,
they were quite disappointed. Yeah, they were quite disappointed.
He has redeemed himself.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. And I felt so bad because Craig was a massive fan of Tilk in Stargate, and didn't know the guy was Christopher Judge. And when he realized that the same guy was voicing God of War and was about to accept a trophy last year, he was like, amazing, I get to see Tilk in person accepting a video game award, what a day. And then has never looked at him the same way. Has said that because I made him watch the Game Awards, I ruined Christopher Judge and Tilk for him forever. So I would hope to maybe get Craig to watch this, and it might redeem Christopher Judge for him as well, because last year was so cringe, and at least this year they made a good laugh.
Well, we had a cringy one this year too, though.
Oh, I mean, like, we're all running, might as well talk about it. Don't watch the Anthony Mackie section of the Game Awards, because holy crap, that was hard to watch.
He's like pretending people are like yelling at him. He's like, no, you shut up. No, you shut up. Nobody's saying anything.
He was trying to do, and that's what I mean. Like, Keanu Reeves came on, and Keanu Reeves is, when Xbox were doing some announcement a couple of years ago for Cyberpunk, Keanu Reeves came onto the stage, and Keanu Reeves is beloved by people across the board, really. I think when it comes to him.
You're beautiful moment.
You're breathtaking.
He did try to do that, didn't he?
Anthony Mackie was trying to force that moment last night, and he kept, like, some person might say something, he's like, no, shut up, gotta keep quiet. And then someone might say something, he goes, no, I love you. No, I love you. And it was so much like he was trying to copy the, no, you're breathtaking Keanu Reeves moment. And he just would not get off the stage. And, like, listen, I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm a big fan of his version of Falcon, do you know what I mean? And I watched him come out on stage last night, and I was like, oh my God, there is always one. We can never get through this show without some well-known actor coming out and making a total tosser of themselves, and Anthony Mackie did it last night. So don't watch that section, not worth it. We'll next go to Best Audio Design, and our nominees were Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4 Remake. And Chris, you and me call this, and I didn't think it would win, but I'm glad it did, Hi-Fi Rush. Mm-hmm. I was sure Alan Wake 2, based on people talking about how amazing the game was, I had a feeling it could have won it, or Dead Space, because the horror game audio design tends to be of a much higher quality, because that 360 surround sound and everything is what makes it so spooky. But Hi-Fi Rush, a game designed on sound.
The whole game is the big... Well, I voted on Metal Hellsinger last year for this exact same reason, and it didn't win. So I was kind of like, well, maybe they don't care about, like, the actual, like, game design around, or the gameplay designed around the sound. But yeah, like, apparently this year they did.
Next we got Best Adaptation. We have The Last of Us, Super Mario World, Twisted Metal, and I can't remember what the other... those are the only three I've written down. There was other ones.
Castlevania? Okay.
Castlevania, yeah. And there was one more. Doesn't matter anyway, didn't win it. Last of Us, of course, took that one. We were talking about it, and some of the guys last night figured that the Super Mario Brothers movie would have taken it. But I'm glad The Last of Us did it, because The Last of Us is a phenomenal TV show, and very so beautifully true to its original, the original game.
Super Mario was good, and it's Mario, but Last of Us was perfect in its portrayal.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, Pedro Pascal, the daddy of the internet, the man can do no wrong. Next we've got Best Score in Music, and the nominees were Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and Zelda. And I'm so glad, Final Fantasy 16 was in a couple of categories this year that I didn't think it would have performed very strongly in. It didn't get nominated for Game of the Year, which is disappointing, but it did get nominated for Best Score and won Best Score. And I'm so glad because musically,
hadn't even played it.
Chris, it was sometimes I was playing that game and you'd be in these quite like high intensity fights or high intensity cutscenes. It's the first game in a long time that has actually made me sit up and sit on the edge of my seat to continue playing because everything got so intense. But intense in an incredible way because of the music alone was bringing the intensity. So yeah, the score of that classically was very, very good.
Final Fantasy is one of the few game franchises out there that I'll like every now and then actively listen to soundtracks outside of playing the game, which is pretty rare. Like, I mean, I love game music, but I'd rather sit down.
I think Final Fantasy series across the board and anything with Nobuo Uematsu in it is kind of top tier video game music across the board. All right, we're getting into the last couple of categories. We had Best Art Direction, and we had Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Brothers Wonders, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That went to Alan Wake 2, and this is where like Alan Wake 2 had a section of the show where it kind of took these 3 awards that I'm about to announce now were all announced in a row, and Alan Wake 2 was kind of like, I was looking at being like, crap, they could be in for winning Game of the Year based on these awards. Yeah, they were just. I
started questioning whether, because you know what, I haven't played it, and I'm sure it is great, but I had never even heard any hype about it. Even when it was released, I don't know anyone who had played it. I didn't hear anything about it. I was just like, how did it make so many awards?
Yep.
And I don't know. It feels like someone was patting somebody's pockets for this.
Possibly. I mean, Best Art Direction I could understand. I've seen a couple of cutscenes for it, and it looks quite interesting. Like I said, in terms of the atmosphere it creates and everything. So I didn't mind that one. We did then go to the Best Narrative, and we've got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Spider-Man 2. Alan Wake 2 also won Best Narrative, and I don't know. I haven't played Alan Wake 2. I remember playing Alan Wake 1 years ago, not being taken really by any aspect of it, narrative or gameplay. And disappointed that the likes of, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, from what I've heard, is a very good story, do you know what I mean? And quite a strong story. Final Fantasy 16, I think, is one of the strongest narratives in a Final Fantasy game of all time. I didn't think Spider-Man 2 would have been in there with much of a shot. Superhero stories tend to be, unless you're talking Infinity War Endgame, your storyline is fairly standard, and I didn't think Spider-Man would have taken Best Narrative. So Alan Wake 2 got it. Disappointing. I would have wanted, Final Fantasy 16 there myself. That's a personal note, but there you go. Best Game Direction. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Super Mario Brothers Wonders, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and Spider-Man 2. And this one also went to Alan Wake 2. This is when they were cleaning up, Chris. Mm-hmm. And this is leading up to the actual Game of the Year award. And I was like, wow, geez, are they going to sneak up out of nowhere and take this? I was sad for Zelda that they didn't take this. I kind of thought it would have been a shoo-in for Zelda. I think you talk about game direction, and I think they knew exactly what they were trying to do with Zelda, and I think they achieved that. And maybe you could say the same about Alan Wake 2, but with the amount of hype behind Zelda, it does surprise me that Zelda didn't pick up more in this game. It didn't win Best Art Direction. It didn't get Best Game Direction. Alan Wake 2 stole both of those, and to me, I'd be a bit disappointed that if I was the guys behind Zelda. I think it deserved probably a bit more than it got. Leading us to finally the Game of the Year, Chris. We've got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Brothers Wonders, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And we were kind of split, of course, between Baldur's Gate 3 and Zelda.
And Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, and we always have been. I think the community as a whole said it's kind of between those two and nobody else. And Baldur's Gate 3 took it. And I think deservedly so.
Still Street Fighter 6 in my heart, though.
And Final Fantasy 16 for me, man.
Yeah,
those are the games. When I think about what games I played this year, Final Fantasy 16 was the one that got me up and off my seat the most to keep this is a great game. But no, I have to, Baldur's Gate 3, fantastic game. And Craig made a good point about why he thought Zelda would always be deserving of it more so than Baldur's Gate 3, is that when Zelda came out, the game was perfect. There was no bugs. There was nothing broken in the game. It was, here's your game. We've been working on it for 6 years. Go and enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it. Baldur's Gate 3 has had a lot of problems and a lot of patches, patch fixes that need, and patches that they still need to implement as well to fix some things in the game. So in that aspect, I would agree with Craig to say, well, it's a bit harsh that a game that is incomplete in some way can go ahead and win Game of the Year. But on another note, and we were talking about it last night, Baldur's Gate 3 is now the gold standard. Genre-defining gold standard for how you should deliver and, provide a game to consumers. And it won it. And so here's a middle finger to all those lazy fucking developers out there who aren't putting it together.
I actually read an interesting article when I was going over the independent games that Baldur's Gate should technically qualify as an independent game over
Dave the Diver.
Yeah, because it is like a self-published, self-developed studio. Like, which would be amazing. Yeah, they're going up against these like super giants like Nintendo, and they're just like, yeah, this is the gold standard now, bitch.
Like Alan Wake 2, they're going up against Spider-Man. You're talking about Insomniac and Marvel. Resident Evil as a series is unbelievable. You're talking about Nintendo for Super Mario Bros. Wonders and Nintendo for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and Baldur's Gate 3 still beat out all those guys, you know. We did an episode, myself, Craig, and Luke, about, you know, who we thought had the best year overall, and we kind of, I mean, Luke's still stuck with Xbox, the guy always will, of course, but Craig managed to convince me to say Nintendo as opposed to PlayStation, because Nintendo had a year at the end of the Switch's life cycle where they brought out a brand new 2D Mario platformer game and a brand new Zelda. Both are excellent games, and that Baldur's Gate still came out and managed to beat either of those, both of those two.
What is that saying? The candle flickers brightest before it goes out, or something?
Yeah, well, that's a nice name for the Switch, actually, because I mean it is. It's like it's kind of getting a nice little swan song on its exit, and like I said, as we say last year, I think a lot of people do believe that the Switch 2 will be announced next year, and if that is the case, in Switch's final year, being considered the only Switch hardware out there, it has 2 games nominated for Game of the Year. So, I mean, hats off to Nintendo to actually get it up there. So those were all the nominations, and that, you know, the awards as a whole. Again, I kind of put it out there that I think they need to go a bit more heavy focused on the award side of things. I love the announcements, which we're going to go through a couple of them now before we finish up the episode. But before I do that, I've totted up the marks from our guesses of who would win each category from all of us who watched it here last night. And Chris, congratulations, you won on 13, followed by Andy on 10 correct guesses, Kev on 9, me on 8, and KP on 6. So nicely done, Chris. So now on to the announcements, and we'll kick it off with what came out first on the pre-show. We had Brothers Remake. We had Pony Island 2, Panda Circus, which we watched the trailer for as you got here, because you missed that.
I had to run home and grab something, so I missed the first couple trailers. And this is made by the guys of Inscription, which I've had just played recently. I think it's one of the games I broke my Steam Deck in with.
Nice.
Fantastic game, and this is very much the same creepy vibe, so I'm into that. Yeah,
looked great, looked mental, and like the trailer is incredibly intense as well in terms of it. It looked mad. One of those games I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued. I don't know what that is, but I'm intrigued by it, you know. We then go for The Rise of the Golden Idol, Usual June, and then Arc Knight Enfield. Arc Knight Enfield was one of like 3 or 4 super anime game announcements that I'm like, I couldn't tell the difference between any of those, but like there was a couple of them being announced. Then we had The Machinist Kung Fu, I think it was called. Warhammer Rogue Trader really had, I think there was 2 Warhammer games announced, but I think it was Warhammer Rogue Trader had Kev especially into it, because I think Kev recently played through XCOM, and like myself, the two of us are big into those strategy games, and Warhammer is just like a top-down, the Rogue Trader top-down strategy like XCOM. Yeah. Looked very, very good, I have to say. So that'd be one that, I mean, Warhammer I wasn't into when I was younger, but I could see myself getting into that game for sure.
Yeah, I would love to get into Warhammer, and I think it's just going to be more and more popular over the next couple of years, because I think Henry Cavill is like set to produce the new Warhammer series or whatever.
There was a movie. Was there a Warhammer movie?
Is that recently? Yeah, I think
that was actually quite, like, well enough received, or a TV show or something like that. It was quite well received. Moving on from that, we had Assassin's Creed Nexus. Looked okay.
I haven't cared about Assassin's Creed since
exactly. It's just another Assassin's Creed game. The next one was Harmonium the Musical, which was actually
this one looked cute.
It was really cute. Yeah, I think it's a game developed by and for people who are deaf. So the whole game has signing in it, and it's a musical. So I'm quite interested in terms of how, if you were someone who was hard of hearing or deaf, would play this game, like the enjoyment you get out of it. I thought it looked incredible, and a nice touch, a nice idea. After that after that one we had Windblown.
Ooh, didn't know this was coming.
One of the highlights.
So excited,
and I can't believe it was a pre-show announcement. You know what I mean? Like, because there wasn't a whole lot of theater around the pre-show announcements. But Windblown from the creators of Dead Cell, and
which is crazy because, like, I don't know if I'm a big Dead Cells fan, but I don't even know if they've created anything ever since. They've just been pumping all their time into more and more Dead
content.
Cells
Yeah, because they
content.
did a Castlevania crossover for Dead Cells recently enough as well.
Yep.
So this is a brand new game by them, Windblown. Stylistically amazing. The animation looks class, and it seems to be a bit more of, it's kind of like a top-down roguelike as opposed to that side-scrolling that Dead Cells had before.
And
but
three-player,
and it looks very cinematic as well. Like that, the movement of your characters between scenes where you're fighting enemies just looks and feels amazing. So, Windblown. 2024 was I don't think we got a release date. We just got the coming 2024. That looks amazing and well worth a shout. After that, we got Thrasher from the creator of Thumper. That old game that came out in
this looked mental too.
2020 or 2014 or something like that. Thumper was, or maybe even earlier. But kind of like a rhythm style game.
I thought it looked like Geometry Wars, but you guys said it was a rhythm game.
Well, I mean, okay. The guy who created Thrasher, the Thrasher's Thumper's a pure rhythm game. I assume Thrasher's going to be something similar. I can't imagine that you deviate too much from what was a really strong game previously. But the trailer didn't do a whole lot for me. Nope. I have to say, I wasn't too keen on that. After that, we had Persona 3 Remake, which looks great for people like Craig. That'll be class. I don't think Craig played the older ones, but they've pretty much made Persona 3. The remake looks like it's Persona 5 quality. Do you know what I mean? It looks like that the animation looks class, and I don't know if there's new voice acting or if they've just cleaned up the voice acting, and then the game just looks like it's a modern day.
I think this one was Xbox only though, wasn't it?
Good question. I'd be surprised if it was. Persona that doesn't strike me as a move Atlas would make. Atlas has always been kind of across everything. Like Persona 5, you can play on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. I mean, maybe it's locked. Maybe it's console exclusive for the first year or something like that. I can't remember from the trailer itself, but there is one that is the Hideo Kojima game that we'll get to is Xbox only, which I was a bit. I mean, I don't know if I'd play that game, but disappointed that it wasn't for everybody. The next one we got was, and this was, we all got pretty excited by this, was the Dave the Diver Dredge DLC, which actually looks like it's a lot of fun. Like, what a great crossover. Two games very similar in style that came out around the exact same time, and they said, hey, why don't we just do a little crossover? Looks great. And then we got World of Goo 2, which I thought was going to be a new Loco Roco. Kind of had those vibes, but it's a different group altogether. And then ended on Metaphor, which was, again, a Persona-like looking game from the creators of Persona. But again,
that's right. Yeah, I remember this one.
Didn't do a whole lot for me. So those were the pre-show announcements. I mean, a couple of good ones in there. Then we got to the main show, and the first one they opened with is a game called Exodus, and it's from the former developers of BioWare. So you're talking about developers who made Mass Effect when Mass Effect was good. And Exodus looks amazing. It's about, we saw the cut, and it's pure cutscene. We didn't see any gameplay. It's just an announcement trailer. But judging by the cutscene, I was pretty excited. I think if anybody's looking for at this massive list of announcements, if there's anything you think you should watch, I think check out the trailer for Exodus. I thought it was fantastic. Another great space game. It looks like coming our way. Then there was I suppose one of the big announcements was the God of War DLC. We spoke about it on the news that there was a God of War DLC supposedly earmarked for the Game Awards, and they've
not only DLC but free DLC
out in like 4 days, out on Monday. We're recording this on Friday. This is going to be released on Friday, and 4 days from now I'll be able to download for free what looks to be a fairly substantial DLC for God of War.
I don't think it'll be substantial. I think it's based on some of the dialogue. I think it's just going to be like a little roguelike side. I don't think it's roguelike. I know what you're saying, because he died and he woke up and he's like
no. So
and the voice was like, that won't be the first time that
Mimir
happens.
goes, let's go again. Yeah. I think it's just how, because it's going to be. I think it's just God of War, and God of War isn't roguelike in any way. I think it's just going to be the same game. I think it's the God of War. I keep forgetting what his name is. Atreus is his son.
Kratos.
Thank you. I think it's what Kratos does post endgame of God of War 2 or God of War Ragnarok. I won't spoil anything for what happened for anybody who hasn't played God of War Ragnarok. But I think it's just him directly after the events at the end of God of War Ragnarok is what he's doing. And I don't think it's a roguelike. To me, it looks like it's the exact same game, just extra, because it looks like he's wearing all the different kind of armor sets that you could get previously and stuff like that. So I think it's just more God of War, but for free. I can't get over that.
I don't know, because it is Valhalla, which is Viking heaven.
True.
So I think he's
actually,
just going to be in a death loop. He's
just trying to get
every time he dies, you got to restart. So I think
just building.
I think they're going to try to tie in a roguelike. I have no idea though.
Interesting. Well, watch this.
Purely based on the.
We'll find out Monday,
trailer.
Chris. I'll download on Monday and let you know.
There you go.
After that, we had, and this was like this. I mean, we all after this one. The next one that was announced was from the creators of the Untitled Goose Game, and it's called Big Walk.
Oh my God, does this look amazing?
It looks so out there. and just so funny. So and it looks like a
this
good,
would be
fun
a good one to sit down
game.
with like 4 of us and just
have a laugh
silly.
with. Yeah. That's one we're checking out. Then we had Kimakuri, I think was the name of the game, from an independent studio. The girl, she was on the Game Awards last year. She came out to announce it.
Very bubbly.
She's super energetic. You know, she's very, very, as you said, very bubbly, very funny. But we only, and the animation in the trailer looks amazing, but we got no gameplay.
Yeah, I just want a show. Honestly, I wish you would just make shows like that.
Yeah, it looked amazing. Then we got No Rest for the Wicked from the guys behind. Is No Rest for the Wicked the Ori team?
Oh, is this the pirate one?
Yeah, I think so. No Rest for the Wicked with the pirate kind of top down looking one from the guys.
Yeah,
who made
this
Ori.
one looked kind of cool. I couldn't make sense of what I was looking at, like if it was gameplay or trailer. Like
it was very mixed about. The graphics for what looked like clearly gameplay looked very impressive. I think the changeover between cutscene and gameplay seemed to be minimal, which is quite cool as a concept. Then we got a really surprising one. The Sega Remake Collection kind of came out. They blasted out like 5 remake games that include,
and it's how it started out with just like the 2 live action actors and just like the skateboard that's a Crazy Taxi. It was like, oh shit, it's a Crazy Taxi, and then it panned to like the arcade cabinet, which was like Golden Axe. Oh yeah, Shinobi.
They had
and I was like, what is this trying to reference?
And when I saw the arcade machine, I thought it was going to be like another Sega collection. Like you could play all the old games.
Essentially it is, but it's
a remake, a remastering, of refreshing of all
the games. I don't even know if you could call those
remasters. I think they're remakes because Golden Axe looks like a totally different game. Shinobi has, it's gotten a complete glow up and it looks totally different to what it originally did. Crazy Taxi looks good, but there's police in it now. I mean, I only played. I was at which I'll throw into a different episode of the podcast when we have more time. But Crazy Taxi was something that I played recently at a showcase thing in the Science Museum over in the UK, and I was like, God, yeah, what a great game! But there's no police or anything like that. You just pick up passengers, drop them off. The trailer had like police chasing after you in a Crazy Taxi, kind of has a GTA feel about it as well. So yeah, I think they've remastered a lot of these. Afterwards, with those remakes, we got Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero,
Sparking Zero,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just it looks like. Not a predecessor, but a successor to the old Budokai Tenkaichi games, which I'm stoked about. Those were fun games. So.
Yeah. After that, we got Vision of Mana, which looked kind of cool. I
remember being the first one to call this. The moment I saw the tree, I was like, "Oh, this is a Mana game."
Yeah, hats off to you. The rest of us were like, "Oh no, is it this? Is it that?" Yeah, you called it straight away. Then we got the whole Hideo Kojima stepping out onto stage. And then we got to see the sneak peek of his game, which appears to be a horror game, face up, but like again, he's got big actors doing bits.
Did we see any gameplay? It was just that girl yelling. At us,
and this is the problem with Hideo Kojima.
And then Jordan Peele comes out
because he's working on it with Jordan Peele, who's now the name behind horror movies. And it seems to be as Hideo Kojima put it himself, like he did when Death Stranding came out. Because Death Stranding, they asked, "What's the genre of Death Stranding?" He's like, "Oh, this is a Strand type game." So the dude's coming up with fucking genres all by himself, And in this one, he said it is a brand new form of media, which of course he would. But I'm interested to see what it actually is, because you just got close-ups of actors' faces kind of saying poems, and each one getting more and more scared as the trailer went on, and that was it. We didn't see gameplay, I didn't see anything, but I don't even know if it'll be a game in a video game sense, other than maybe like an interactive or a movie style experience.
An AI that just watches you and yells at you.
Yeah,
you have dishes to clean.
Then we got after that one we got Jurassic Park Survival, which actually looks like it could be okay.
Yeah, this one actually looked dope. I forgot about this one.
Yeah. We got a really cool kind of CGI trailer where the character was kind of hitting up all the beats from the original Jurassic Park film, like in the kitchen, getting chased by the raptors.
No, she was getting chased by the
Dilophosaurus, whatever it is. The one that throws acid at your face. Yeah. She's getting chased by one of them, but it had like she was in the kitchen. She was, but the 2 cars with Alan Grant when the T-Rex comes out. So she was hitting up all those places, but it seems to be a standalone story. First person, it looked like kind of.
But she must have been there on the island at the same.
If they're going, I mean, it did show Alan Grant's hat, so it looks like she's there canonically, I guess. Yeah, like after, like she's in each place after the fact of the Alan Grant and the team. After that, we got. This is one of the things, Rocket Racing, I thought was a brand new game. But again, it was one of those games that had in the top corner, played in Fortnite. Like, what a time to be alive with video games when you can do all that.
Yeah, Fortnite is just going to be the new, like, game client.
It's just a hub.
You just go into there to play the games you want.
Then we got Wukong Black Myth,
Yeah, which we've been hearing about for years.
Yeah,
so.
look cool. Ready or Not, which I can't even remember.
Is this the Get the Fuck Out one? GTFO,
oh, yes, it is.
Which
yes.
had been out for...
Oh, yes. Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, again, I didn't do a whole lot for me. This next one, though, the guy came out to announce it. I think he did voice acting in Assassin's Creed. Quite a touching moment. He talked about how, since he'd done voice acting, his father had passed away recently, but he was still... I think his father was very supportive in playing video games and, doing voice acting and stuff like that. But he has a studio that has brought out a new game called Tales of Kenzala, Zhao, I think is what it's called, about the dealing with grief of losing family, and it looked, art style, everything looked great. Looked like a very exciting game, actually, in terms of the thing. So that was a nice touching moment as well. Then we got Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. Again, I think that was one of them weird anime ones.
It was the kid staying over the pit. It looked like, I thought it was going to be a Quarry DLC or something, but
it didn't look.
I think it's just going to be one of those games for Impact or something.
Yeah, we looked at that and we kind of said we have no idea what that game is.
Yeah,
and not in a good way that we were intrigued by the trailer, but that didn't tell us anything.
One of those choose your story things, I think.
Yeah, potentially. Then we got Last Sentinel, which was that cool looking one in kind of samurai-esque times, but everybody's robots. And then the trailer, the family's being protected, and they're waiting on, like, oh no, the ninja is coming, and it turns out to be another robot. But
the demon's coming.
Demon's coming, yeah. Turns out to be another kind of like female character, but she's half cyborg and stuff. So yeah, that looks like a cool. Again, no gameplay, just a really deadly looking trailer. But we've been bitten by that kind of stuff before. The First Descendant, which was kind of like a mix between Death Stranding and like Mass Effect-y kind of stuff. Again, it looked. You said the gameplay looked deadly because you could like glide across the water and stuff while that big monster was.
If that was gameplay, it looked fucking awesome.
There was a lot of it that looked like it could be really, really
almost
good.
like Armored Core-ish, like the way she was gliding and still like facing the giant monster.
That's in for 2024 at some point. Then we got Zenless Zone Zero, another one of them anime ones. There's so many of them, man.
Why
so many.
Would you give your game an acronym of
just ZZZ? Yeah. Den of Wolves looked okay, I think. I can't really remember if it's Den of Wolves was. Yeah, I mean, it goes to show you. I can't remember. And so this is, we're getting to the trailers towards the end of the show when we're all obviously incredibly tired. Like, this is like the 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. trailer batch when we're pretty much done. Exoborn, which looked okay. Again, another one of them kind of futuristic looking ones. Then we got, your man came out we got a whole thing about No Man's Sky, and the guy from No Man's Sky came out and said, hey, look, myself and this team of 12 have been working on this new game called Light No Fire. And that trailer looked hype.
Ooh,
that looked excellent, that game.
I worry about the developers of Valheim after watching this one, because it just looked like it could be just
a Valheim killer.
Valheim.
Yeah, because it didn't have. Did it have? Oh no, it looked like it could have had bits of like building and stuff like that. And then it had. I saw them flying on dragons at one point, swimming in the ocean. So what he said was, whereas No Man's Sky was procedurally generating planets, this game slowly procedurally generates Earth, and I guess it's just one planet. So like a massive. I'm assuming that the world will be massive, and it'll, like each time you start to finish, the world will look different. Interesting concept. Looked great. I hope he makes it and doesn't run away for 2 years when shit hits the fan and all that jazz like they had with No Man's Sky. After that, we got the Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth theme trailer.
With the girl singing, yeah.
With the girl, Aerith singing, and we got a glimpse of Sid and Vincent. And I looked at it, and me and Kev were super excited for this, and Kev had said he was quite disappointed by the trailer because we didn't get a whole lot. And I said, look, Kev, I guarantee you Square Enix are going to, like, 10 minutes after this, they'll release the full trailer, which will have, like, dialogue or whatever. And we watched the rest of the game show, and Kev said, oh my God, you're right there, and they've released a full trailer. We put it on the TV. Excellent trailer. And I'm putting it down right here because Craig already messaged us on the chat this morning. He was like, I've seen the Final Fantasy trailer. There's definitely another episode of that trailer alone. So yeah, me, Kev, and Craig, I'm sure the dream team for Final Fantasy Talk will be getting together to do a thing on that trailer. Loads more. Again, lots of questions to be answered. Great trailer.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know. I still think Final Fantasy VII should have ended with the original.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of people that agree with you, but I'm enjoying this roller coaster ride of will they, won't they? Who is, what's going to happen? Then
at least you got to see gameplay of, your big anticipated game.
Yeah, because we're going to go on to Stormgate now, and you were quite disappointed by it.
Okay, yeah. I was disappointed by that, but I mean, we didn't get any Elden Ring at all.
No Elden Ring. Not a single bit. And I suppose when we go through these, we'll talk about the things that we're missing or lacking. But Stormgate came out. You seemed pretty excited. You were a bit disappointed by
I was stoked because
too much.
I signed up for their newsletter ages ago when I found out about them. Also hoping to get into like beta tests and stuff, and got a big email from them just like, tune into the Game Awards, we're going to be showcasing new gameplay, blah blah blah, we're launching a Kickstarter campaign, and blah, just a huge list of like, this is what's coming, this is what's happening, we're in the works, we're getting there. Just watched the gameplay at the Game Awards, so I got stoked. I was like, oh my god, they might even, I don't know what happens behind the scenes there, but like people might actually be getting play tests and stuff like that, which they have been actually. A lot of streamers
have actually had the opportunity.
Content. I was like, surely there's got to be something else out there.
And it looked good, but I just, as a person who isn't getting super excited about it, but understanding, that these are the guys behind countless other great games, like the
StarCraft team, Warcraft team, Age of Empires, Command & Conquer, like all the old industry vets of RTS, because it is pretty much a dead genre. Yeah, unfortunately.
But I saw it and I said, because interestingly on the little retro handheld thing that Luke was showing me, and I bought one of my own. I was on the plane. I was in London last weekend, and on the plane back, I was playing Command & Conquer Red Alert on this Game Boy thing, and I was like, man, I really miss these kind of games. But it looked good. It kind of has like a futuristic, glow up kind of Command & Conquer vibe to it from the small short clips that we saw. But there wasn't a whole lot there.
You can definitely see they're leaning more in towards the because it's going to be a free to play game, so they're really leaning into. They want this like a huge online community. I don't think they'll. They did mention something about a campaign, but I think that's an afterthought. Like the whole primary focus is going to be playing against, making a competitive game. Yeah, which RTS should be. But yeah, you can see like both sides and just like striking red and striking blue. Like they're really leaning into.
I'm looking forward to
a difference in like making it competitive. And,
yeah, and then we kind of second to last announcement was our Final Fantasy 16 got some DLC, and not only to get DLC, it got 2 bits of DLC, and the first one called Echoes of the Fallen. It was available at that moment, so straight after the show you could download Final Fantasy 16 DLC. Unfortunately, I gave it a lend to not Luke on the podcast, but a mate of mine in work called Luke. I gave my Final Fantasy 16 a lend to him, and I think he's close to finishing it. And I'm kind of like, listen,
you only had a digital copy, you could have just said no.
Chris,
right
I am. We're gonna that'll be an episode probably for the new year, but like we've seen some shit recently where like the whole physical copy of shit could be pretty important and and need to come back. But no, I'm very excited about 16. I loved. I was kind of holding off and waiting for a good time to go back and do my hard playthrough. And now seeing that they've got 2 DLCs coming out, one in spring 2024, one's available now. It'll get me excited to go back in and play the game on hard and go through some DLC. Great game, great that this DLC. I don't know if it's free or not. I don't know if you got to pay for it. I'm assuming it is just added content that didn't give prices or anything like that, but we'll wait and see. One of them is available anyway now.
I think if they intended on making it free, they would have announced that.
Yeah,
they
free
said
DLC.
That, that's a big driving point. They wouldn't be like, this, and this. And by the way, you have to pay this. Because another reason is, depending on where you're watching, like the price is going to be different.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they would have said free if it was free. So I guess I'll have to pay for that, but I'm looking forward to it. And then we got on to our final announcement, which, and you had seen the leaks. You'd seen the Capcom leaks. So you always knew.
I knew this was happening. I tried to allude. I was like, wouldn't it be wild if they...
And it only... Monster Hunter. So it only done on me like, afterwards I was like, fuck, okay, Chris was like, talking about it the whole time. So Capcom, apparently all of the Capcom announcements got leaked, which included a Monster Hunter Wilds announcement leak, and of course myself and Kev and Andrew, and Craig, one of our most anticipated games at the minute, aside from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, is the new console iteration, full console, not say the Switch is in the console, but next generation version of Monster Hunter. And the final announcement of the show was Monster Hunter Wilds, which broke my heart. I'm glad we got it, but there was all of this talk about the Capcom. We did it in the news episodes, 2 months back, where Capcom had announced an unannounced game will be released before the end of the financial quarter, which means before the end of March, and it's going to make X amount, it's going to sell so many millions of copies, and everyone was kind of saying, well, that's only going to be Resident Evil or Monster Hunter. And lo and behold, we get a big old Dragon's Dogma 2 drop, which no one really kind of expected, and said, oh, that's obviously the game. And Monster Hunter Wilds has been pegged for a 2025 release. and I was hoping I'd be playing it next March. So
I might
devastated.
Well, I probably not by next March, but they could do. I could see Capcom start doing early access on like PC, which would be pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, Mr. Steam Deck PC player over there. Yeah,
did you know what Capcom is? They've announced that they're a PC first company now.
Did they?
Yep.
Weird. Well, I suppose, yeah.
It just makes sense, I think, for development, because I imagine the turnover rate for the cycle for coding, patching, implementing bug fixes to QA and like testing and all that must be quicker because you're obviously developing on a computer. So getting it to a testable state on a computer must be a lot quicker than getting it into a testable state on a console. Got to trim out a few steps.
Absolutely. So it looked good. It was kind of looks like it's kind of extra open world, judging by the trailer. It definitely didn't look as good as I was expecting it to, but it is still 2 years away from release. This is probably a very early kind of look at the game. Mounts, yeah, from Rise, from Monster Hunter Rise. So yeah, delighted we got it. I think, in terms of, it was a great deal of announcements. Those are all the ones I think that were announced, excluding anything that came in the adverts. But I think talking about things that we were hoping for but didn't get, from my perspective, I was hoping for a look at something Kingdom Hearts 4, which was a long shot, didn't get it. Kev was very excited and hopeful for a Final Fantasy 9 remake kind of update. Anything that you feel you wished was there?
I kind of feel like I got robbed on a few, like Elden Ring.
The Elden Ring DLC, coming, of course, no update at all. Nothing.
But Miyazaki's whole MMO is just cryptic as fuck. So doesn't surprise me. I'd be surprised if we get anything more than a single picture before it's actually released. But also maybe an announcement of, because that's just DLC. And From Software still has a bigger team. Be nice to some sort of teaser at like what else they got in progress on the back burner or something. Bloodborne 2 would have been fucking
amazing. Yeah, I think, there was some good announcement there, but I think across the whole, we were kind of saying before we sat down to record this that
I'm just tired. Like, even the Monster Hunter Rise, like, we knew it was going to happen. Like, we know they're not abandoning the Monster Hunter franchise. We know we're due for a new one. I'd rather not get a 30, or not even a 30-second, a 10-second clip, and then saying, okay, it's out in 2 years.
Yeah,
like fuck off.
Don't
tell me anything.
Yeah, exactly. And that was disappointing for me. That's what I mean. Is that I almost preferred that there was no Monster Hunter announcement, because when it came up on screen, I was like, "Holy, here we go!"
Especially when I see you guys and you're like, you God of War fans, and you're just like, "Hey, look at this new DLC. It's free. It's out fucking tonight." What?
Yeah.
Where's my win? I want stuff.
Oh, that is a pity you didn't get much. So that's kind of like a whole recap of the Game Awards. I think, based on kind of what the list of things that we have here and looking at them, I think we'll probably get a few of us on to an episode of our most anticipated games kind of in 2024 before we hit the new year. There'll be no post show this week because myself and Chris are absolutely exhausted.
It's already dark out.
Yeah, I gotta go back to bed again. So there'll be 2 episodes, two post shows of the Battle Royale series being released next week. We're going to do the quarterfinal and semi-final next week, leaving the final to close to Christmas. And listen, Chris, thanks so much for joining the episode.
Not a problem.
And to our listeners, this is the Game Awards episode is kind of our year anniversary. The first episode that we did on the podcast was the Game Awards 2022. So if you've been there listening since 2022, when you're here listening to the Video Game Awards recap 2023, listen, thanks for sticking around. We appreciate you and your continued support. If you're not on the Patreon, there's loads of extra content there. Check it out at patreon.com/togetthegaming for loads more extra content at the cost of a coffee a month. You'll love it. We love it. It's great. Chris, until next time, thank you so much for sticking around. And to our listeners, as always and forever, keep enjoying the gift that is gaming. Peace out.